Welcome everyone. How you doing? Special two guests tonight. We got Arkheim Wood and Nathan Ciszek together. A sec, guys. I don't know why that's still here. Let me just.
It's Arkheim Ra is how you pronounce it.
Okay.
Arkheim Ra.
Arkheim Ra. Hang on, bro. Let me just get this. Okay, I got an echo. All right, we're back. Okay, so it's Arkheim Ra and Nathan Ciszek. Am I saying that right, Nathan?
Almost.
Ciszek.
Yeah,
Ciszek. Okay.
Ciszek, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so for you guys that, huh?
That's for all I know. I'm saying it wrong.
I know, me too. Anyways, these guys are going to talk about their experiences again. It's kind of like going to be a roundtable more. I'm going to be the guy who's just listening. I'm gonna cut in every once in a while if I got a question for the two of you guys. Arkheim was just saying that he somehow may know Nathan. So I don't know if Nathan, if you want to start, because you were saying that you wanted to you wanted to talk to Arkheim because you're saying we were trying to get in contact with him before, and we all know how it works. When they don't want us to talk, they'll find every which way to block. I had my accounts hacked last week. I was getting all these weird. I was trying to schedule things. I was getting all these different schedules. Now different times were coming up. People were saying they weren't getting my emails. My PS5 that I used to stream, it got hacked. They were asking for all this backup. My phone just got hacked. It said that all these I got to do. I never put all this stuff on my phone, but all this stuff has been happening. So we already know these guys are desperate now because they have lost. But I'll just say my purpose for doing this is to bring you guys together because I know there's a lot of dissension going on with the whole Supersoldier movement. And people who are coming forward talking about their experiences, people are saying like, it's not true. And you got all these agents and stuff coming around saying that you guys aren't telling the truth and stuff. So I really just want you guys to come and, tell your story. I believe it, regardless of what anybody else says. I could care less. Stuff that resonates with me is what I go with. And I've spoken to both of you guys already, and both of your stories resonate with me. Ark, I listened to you on Supersoldier Talk, and I was right away. I got to talk to this guy. Nathan, I saw you on Lada's. There was an interview that you did with Lada. It was like almost 3 hours long. So yeah. So Nathan, if you want to start, and then we'll just
I first saw Arkheim when he was having that feud with Shane the Ruiner and was it Ryder Lee, right? So I found his channel. I don't know. I think YouTube screwed up and like somehow sent it to me and it came up in my feed, or maybe I found it somewhere else. But I was trying to get a hold of him. I would put a comment or two every so often, but I never heard anything, and I couldn't find an easy, like verifiable contact info on you. So anyway, I have the Mexican Roach Coach trucks, throat here. So maybe I need to skip and actually pass it on to him. But I have a question. You said I look familiar, and that's happened with a couple of others over the last couple of years. So what do you think?
I know alters of years in the programs.
Okay. Is that what you're certain of, or is there anything else?
That's all I'm getting now. Also, we've probably done this in more than one time in multiple timelines, so it might just seem familiar because of that.
Yeah, well, when I first saw you, I knew that I had to talk to you because we're on the same. Well, we're going through the same situation. Excuse me. Never eat Mexican before you do one of these. Anyway, yeah. As soon as I saw you, I knew that I needed to talk to you. So, here we are. Do you want to get into the Shane the Ruiner stuff? The Ryder Lee stuff? Because
sure. What do you want to talk about?
Well, for example, he was on the Typical Skeptic a few weeks back, and he was talking about remote viewing and so forth, and he acknowledges that, but at the same time, he's extremely skeptical of the SSP stuff. The thing is, though, is that there's a remote viewing documentary by the Farsight Institute called, I think it's called Super Soldiers of Series. And I sent that to him after the interview. I had reached out to him before and I sent him some of my videos and I said, if you ever want to talk, to hear something from a different perspective, look at it, I'll let you know. And he wasn't interested, but when I sent him, the link to the Farsight Institute, remote viewing study, this sucks. He never responded to me. So it sort of reinforced my notion that he wasn't willing to entertain it anymore, even though there was remote, viewing, evidence of it. So, and that actually validates Tony Rodriguez's story, like a huge portion of it. I don't know if you've seen it, but
yeah. I know all about that. It's been tested by them and they saw that it was true, and that's the proof is in the pudding. These guys always isn't that what they say? I don't know, but I mean, obviously it's real. I mean, it's all real. I feel like the reason why Shane. Okay, so here's the thing about Shane. Don't give a fuck about. Like, I don't care. Like, normally I won't talk about someone publicly that I have memories of if they're not cool with it. But I don't really give a fuck on this occasion. I have memories of him in the programs. He's in these programs just like us. And this whole idea, this whole thing he says where he's never been memory wiped, he's never been fucked with, and they couldn't break him. They tried to torture him and he couldn't break him. That's all ridiculous. Like, he's in this just like all of us are. You can't leave the Illuminati. It's all just absolutely ridiculous. Anybody who follows this guy, I mean, he literally is a self-admitted disinformation agent. He calls himself the Runer, and he's, the equivalent of a child who goes around and knocks over people's sandcastles, and then acts like when people react to it, they're the ones who are being emotionally unstable. He's a provocateur. It couldn't be any more obvious.
I watched him on, he interviewed, because after I spoke to Nathan, I went to check out, because he told me that you had spoken to him, and I watched an interview he did with Kim Gogun, and I could barely get through it because I've never seen anybody so rude towards somebody that they were actually called on. It's like me calling you guys on here, and before you guys could even speak, I'm interrupting you and telling you you're lying and stuff. I was like, wow. But I heard him speak with Lada Leon years ago, and he was a lot calmer. He had a different, but all of a sudden now it seems like now he's got this very narcissistic attitude towards anybody that has anything to say, like with what you guys say. Like, I'm sure Nathan, if you were to talk to him, he'd have the same attitude that he had towards Arkheim. Like, it was very narcissistic.
Anyway, as far as the whole conversation, like, what can we really say constructively about it? I mean, it's clear that they don't believe us. Well, I think Shane maybe does know the truth and just is. I can't tell if he doesn't or he does, but all I know is he's wrong when he says that. His explanations don't make sense, and I don't know. For me, I feel like I've beaten a dead horse with that because, like, I did an episode with Joseph Powell on Fractal Weapons where we talked about him, and I had him come on the show, and you can watch the episode where he came on Fractal Weapons, and he wouldn't answer my questions, and he spoke over me, and he threatened to leave the show, and he just wouldn't do a proper interview with me. So that's still on the channel. And then, of course, the Runer and himself and Ryder Lee did a whole 3.5-hour episode breaking down that. And I just responded to that with like a 10-15 minute long video because I felt like that was a little ridiculous to try to take up that much time breaking down something so simple. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like it's a waste of time to talk about them, kind of. Like, that's what they want you to do, is talk about them. Like, a narcissist, what they want you to do is give them attention, give them fuel, give them a reason to interact with you, or try to interact with you, or put their name and put your name in their mouth. Like, the best thing to do with a narcissist like Shane the Runer is to just ignore them. Period.
Okay. So do you guys want to talk about I guess let's forget about Shane. Let's talk about the things that you guys are acquainted with and maybe some similarities. I don't know, Arkheim, are you familiar with Project Ibis?
We're actually doing a show on that on Fractal Weapons. I'll be talking with Joseph Powell and John Whitberg this Saturday, and it should come out Sunday. But to be honest with you, that's the one that I'm in it. I'm part of Project Ibis. I have an altar that's in it, but I don't remember any of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you can't really...
I have.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I can't really go into detail. I have a lot of altars that are in programs that, like I don't even have memory of. I have active altars right now here on Earth that if I were to figure out where they are, what they're doing, and have memories of them and interact with them, that could be very bad for me if that were to happen. So in a way, I'm thankful, but also I do want to integrate all my altars.
Okay. Do you want to just, I guess for the people who don't know that are watching now, do you want to explain altars? Because I know people are probably thinking, okay, what's altars?
Okay, altars are essentially what MK Ultra programs do is they take you when you're a child, and through sexual torture, they fracture the child's consciousness into pieces. Because when a child is being tortured, the way that they deal with the trauma of the situation is by compartmentalizing the experiences into a different personality that deals with the trauma for them, so that they don't have to deal with it. And they've basically gotten this down to a science where they can break your consciousness into pieces and then program the different pieces to have certain traits, different types of personalities and abilities as well that are for specialized purposes. So essentially your consciousness, if you're an asset, is like a toolbox or a folder with all these other different folders inside that have a program which is different alters, different versions of you, with different names that they can put into clones and basically make do certain jobs, different tasks. And your cover altar or home altar, which is who you're talking to right now, in my case, is normally none the wiser and unaware that they have been mind fractured and that they have different pieces of themselves across the world or galaxy, or what have you, or throughout time. So yeah, what they do is they take people and they fracture their consciousness and they put them into different bodies and program them to do certain things. Some of them for military purposes, but not always. Some of them for intelligence gathering purposes. Yeah, a lot of the people that they took initially were ancient deities, old Egyptian gods, stuff like that, which Project Ibis has a lot to do with that, and the Egyptian gods and stuff like that. Once they reincarnated, they kidnapped them and put them in programs. And but yeah, that's what alters are. Alters, it's a clinically diagnosable disorder now, called dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder, and it maybe is still looked at mainstream wise as some sort of like accidental thing that occurs in people, and maybe sometimes it is accidental because if you have trauma in your normal day-to-day life, it can happen to people, but yeah, there's a lot of people who have this disorder who aren't aware of it because their alters don't surface, or and a lot of them they don't know. So if you don't know that you're in these programs, you can't address the issue that you have these alters, I guess. I just said the same thing twice, but yeah, you know what I mean.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Do you think, sorry Nathan, before you go, do you think that, like, because I get the strong feeling that this is what's running Hollywood right now, is that it's a bunch of alters that aren't really the same people that are there right now. It kind of, anybody who really knows, I know. What's your take? I see it, whether people want to call it cloning or whatever the case may be. It's just not the Hollywood that, and even the Hollywood before was effed up, but now it's even worse because the
military is completely in control of the entertainment industry. and they use it for mind control purposes. And anybody who doesn't believe this can look into it and follow the breadcrumbs and find that it's true. Decca Records, you know, they were one of the first, you know, companies out there making records, had doing stuff in recording studios, and they're using that money to fund radar research, and then they made radar equipment that arguably helped, you know, us win in several situations in the war, World War I, World War II. There's this very clear connection that's not hidden well enough, I guess, where the military is involved with the record industry. And you also see that there's this I should have notes. I wasn't sure exactly what we're going to be talking about, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on in LA. You know, Jim Morrison had connections to the military. The Beatles had connection to Jimmy Savile and to like Aleister Crowley. Same thing with the Rolling Stones. And then of course Preston Nichols was the sound engineer for who was the programmer at Montauk for the Montauk project. He was a sound engineer for Phil Spector, and who worked on so many great songs. And he was actually testing mind control while he was working for Phil Spector. I don't know, but yeah, the military. You know, you look at like Marvel movies, for instance. They're basically just like some sort of like CIA-sponsored military fantasy to program your kids, like into, and adults too, like into these ideas. Like, it's really obvious that if you look, you'll find.
Nathan, you want to?
Yeah, that. There we go. I still have the food truck. Anyway, that's my friend Sin right there, who asked the question. She said fracturing of altars can be done through other means as well, which is a question. And apparently, yes. I don't think it always has to do with the inducement of some kind of sexual trauma or physical trauma, or, you know, mental and emotional. I have a memory of being put into a very high-tech machine. It looked like a large MRI machine, but it was slightly different. And my consciousness was fractured at that point. That was from the White Sands base. And then it was implanted into this version of me right now. I did a fairly uneventful hypnosis session. And what I did conclude is that when that actual memory took place, I was in White Sands. I was in the Supersoldier program. I could see the armor on myself before I got in the machine. And what I remember from that was initially that was supposed to be like on another world. It was supposed to be an ET experience. And of course, I was being, mind controlled for a good 15 years with open ET contact every day. So I was under the impression that it was something else. But in fact, they can create another kind of altar where it's, I would assume it's a soul fraction. I mean, it's a soul fragment. So it isn't like they're creating an altar in you where you have multiple personality disorder. Then they could program the altar to carry out.
Well, that is what they're doing when they're fracturing your consciousness and programming different personalities. They are soul fractures. They're fractures of your consciousness. Your consciousness is your soul. Your soul is your consciousness.
Right, but when they do that, now your memories, are you saying that you got these memories where they're actually making these fragments, but they're using some kind of sexual trauma? Because I don't have any memories of that yet. I do know that they use technology at that point.
I don't have clear memories of that, and I don't like to go into them. I mean, I do have memories of, Preston was really close to me, and he was a pedophile, and I was one of his favorite Montauk boys. And I remember the child orgies there and stuff like that. But as far as being programmed, I mean, only my alters can remember that. I would have to alter out or integrate those alters in order to have those memories. And frankly, those aren't necessarily the memories that I want to go into. I don't feel it's necessary for me to remember sexual torture that happened to me as a child in order to move on from it. I would rather. It's more important to remember what happened after that, like, you know, why they programmed those pieces and stuff like that. However, I would not disagree with you that there is probably. I mean, I believe you when you say there's technology that, you know, can do it without having to do the sexual torture stuff. However, I would argue that you probably already have to be broken in order for that to work. And I think that trauma is the only real way to start breaking a person. Otherwise, they wouldn't use that method so universally. Even the Illuminati families do it to their own kids because they believe they have to in order to make them psionically capable and make them up to par with you know, the standards of the breakaway civilizations where you speak telepathically and have psionic abilities and everything else like that.
You may be right about that. Let's see, my history with this whole life mission goes back to all the way back to 1947, where I came into this world as a male. I don't know who I was. I know what state. It was the state of Nevada, and I know that I was abducted at age 7, and then I was fractured at that point. At the time of the abduction. Sorry, my throat is really shot tonight for some reason, other than the food. But anyway, so I know that about myself, and I'm also becoming more and more aware that there probably was some sort of molestation going on, because I have memories of walking around a base as a kid, and I was at the White Sands base, and from what I can gather in my subconscious, that was the clone of me that they made when I was 6 years old in 1980. Are you okay?
Oh, I'm just listening to you and I'm just thinking about what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, because sometimes people get attacked in these shows, and when you're looking up the ceiling, I thought maybe something was happening.
No,
I've been getting it. So it's okay.
But anyway, yeah, you very well may be right about that, but I do know they can fracture you and then maybe start the molestation after that, because when I was abducted, that's when the fracturing started.
For these guys, sexual rituals is like they're everything to them. Everything. Like it's the linchpin of their cult, of their occult rituals is sexual rituals, and a lot of them are involved, and unfortunately involve kids, and a lot of them involve eating people and then killing them, or excuse me, raping people, killing them, and then eating them. And that's happening way more than people would like to admit or know. A lot of these elite people. I mean, I remember famous fucking people. Like I have a memory of Elon Musk being at a party at this one chateau fucking place and somewhere in Europe. And me and one of my comrades were there on some sort of mission for whatever reason. We were attached to Elon. We were with him. And I just remember that there was a dead child on the table, like a stuffed pig, and Elon, I remember Elon ripping off a piece of the child and chewing on it, and like he's like having a conversation with some older woman, which I think might have been his mom. Like, that's just nothing.
Is this the spirit cooking, Ark?
The spirit cooking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that Maria Abra, whatever.
Yeah, the one now.
They want you to think it's all hypothetical or something. It's not.
Symbolic only.
It's disgusting. It sickens me to my stomach that it's just.
Yeah, the stuff they do is pretty bad.
I mean, I know, Ark, you guys have seen stuff I haven't seen. I've seen things that, you know, that they've allowed people to see, but I've seen some stuff that's kept me up at night. I could just imagine the stuff that you guys have seen. And it bothers me when I see people talking about your guys' experiences as if it's fantasy, you know, and this is also to what I wanted to get in with you guys is, if you guys want to name names, you can, but I think there's a lot of these so-called disclosures movements going on right now that are full of shit when it comes to this stuff. And they try to silence guys like you who are actually telling more of the graphic stories that aren't so fairy tale like, because it's not fairy tale. This shit is disgust. Like it goes beyond things. I think, and I think the whole point of this is to bring this together so that people can understand really what's been happening here. So that when real disclosure comes out, people are gonna be a little more.
This is real disclosure coming out.
No, you know what I mean. Like when I say real disclosure, I'm talking about when it's coming out where it's mainstream. Like this is
no. I don't think any authority figure is ever going to come forward and tell you what's going on. Force them to. I don't know. I don't think that. I think that if any authority figure ever comes on TV and tells you, "Oh, this is what's going on," you should be really skeptical of whatever they say, because I don't know. It's just like this idea of disclosure has been thrown around a lot. I would think a good example of somebody to bring that up would be like David Wilcock. I've been following that fucking asshole for like 20 years now, and he says the same shit over and over again. He's like a broken record. Disclosure's coming. It's on the horizon. It's happening. Sometimes he'll even give a date. He's even given exact dates, and he's been wrong every fucking time. And he still grifts people harder and harder each time he comes up with some more cackamamie scheme. It's just like, fuck these people, dude. There's people out here that are talented at making money off of what's actually going on out there. And those are the people that are being listened to, not people like me. And it's unfortunate, but that's what's going on, and it's a deliberate attempt to silence the people who are actually telling the truth as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, here's something interesting. Project Ibis, Arkheim, is actually a lot more multifaceted than most people think. I've tried to get other people who are in the community to, to accept this or just acknowledge it or just entertain it, but they're very, very reluctant to. When I was inside the lab, I was actually arguing with them because my alters were actually starting to resist the programming. And you're right, when one alter is doing something, the other does not know what it's doing. So I was under the impression that I was going to be used as one of these new age starseed type people, like a guru, an influencer. And I'm literally in the lab at White Sands arguing with them. And they're telling me that I had to take a handicap in the form of a speech impairment, which is what they gave me from a child. And then I had all these other things that they were going to give me that they didn't disclose, such as spine problems, sinus problems, and then making me sick with heart failure and a whole bunch of other things that they did to, suppress me and make me sick and, to hold me back so that I wouldn't wake up and I wouldn't go public and so forth. And so a lot of the disinformation that's taking place is part of Project Ibis, especially when they take mind-controlled MILABs. And it isn't really, we all know who they are. They have these elaborate stories. They take rides on spacecraft. Wilcock may even be one of those people, but he takes the grift to the point where you almost have to say, wait a second, is this just a grift? And there's nothing else, which also brings me to another part of this. They will take the grifters and promote them using social media and Hollywood contacts and so on. There's people in the disclosure community that are connected to Hollywood. There's money all over. You have the occult aspect, all of it, pedophilia, everything's there. And what I've seen Project Ibis do is kind of like there's a part of it that's an umbrella program that facilitates all of the bullshit that we're dealing with the, with this, I call it a clown show. It's a disclosure community clown show. And it's gotten really outrageous to the point where it just makes everybody look bad. So when you come up and you talk about these things and you're serious about it and you've really been hurt by it, it's really difficult for people who are on the outside of this to look at you after they've heard these others and take you seriously. And that's all part of the strategy here because, the government, the reptilians, the ETs, the negative ETs that are exploiting humanity have created a system where they know that we're all going to wake up and they can't stop that, but they can create an engineered awakening and they can create a clown show to discredit us. And, you always know who it is because they never get shadow banned. They always have lots of funding. They always have lots of help. the community opens its doors to them. They don't question any of their story. They just accept it, you know, and off they go. I mean, if I wrote a book, okay, and it could be the best book that anybody could ever write, I still would not get any coverage when compared to Ishmael. Excuse me, Ishmael Perez. He's part of this, you know, disclosure industrial complex. He's part of Project Ibis to the point where he gets this information that they give him, and then he becomes this kind of source of disclosure. He literally became the focal point of ufology for a period of time just by writing a book, and he popped up out of nowhere. And you can see it with these other people. Like, another thing that I've noticed too, there's a lot of women who go through abductions for reproductive purposes, and they have something called an abduction rescue scenario, which is what I call it. That's when you're being abducted, you know, by non-human entities, and you're put through all these miserable experiences, and then some handsome man or you know, like really attractive woman shows up from another extraterrestrial race, and of course they're always, you know, very, you know, muscular and physically, you know, they look good. So anyway, what happens is they rescue you, and then they make you a mouthpiece for the Galactic Federation after that, and then you enter the clown show. And also what I've seen is there's an influx of these people under the IBIS program that are putting into the Supersoldier community and the SSP community, so they can basically turn it into a clown show and just pump out a lot of fictional information. And you have researchers who are falling for this, who are also part of the mind control, because they can remotely mind control people. And it's really easy for big tech to shadow ban you, because they've already set that infrastructure up, you know, for years now. Plus, you've got all the ability to hack and make your life miserable. And then, Arkheim, you just said that over the last couple of days, I guess it was this weekend, you got hit with directed energy.
Yeah.
So another thing, those people never experience that. They never have to worry about going on a podcast like this and have an attachment on them where they suddenly start stuttering. They have to clear their throat. And what I'm going through is because of what I ate. But there's plenty of instances where I've done interviews and I instantly started to stutter. I instantly couldn't think of what I wanted to say. And
you gotta do like clearing rituals before you do interviews.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll hit you right in the middle of the interview after you've done that. So let's talk about that. What happened to you over the weekend? I think it was the weekend, right? It was just a couple of days ago.
I was walking with my mom, and I felt, all of a sudden I feel like this warmness and tightness in my chest, and it feels like I'm gonna have a heart attack basically, and I almost have to like stop what I'm doing. And my mom's saying something to me, but I can't. I get completely distracted by that, and of course it coincides with the cop driving past me. It says commanding officer on the vehicle, and you know, as they fade away, the feeling gets less intense until right when they're right over the horizon, almost, you know, out of view, it's gone. And it was very obviously a directed energy weapon, and them just, you know, putting their dicks on my face, you know, just showing me what they got. But I already know, from what I'm coming to understand, one of the reasons why they keep us alive is because if we got active alters, that if I'm the host and I kill myself, then apparently that will kill my alters. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, but I think that's one of the reasons why they won't kill you, and why they just do the best they can to keep you sick, or, you know, try to keep you from talking in other ways, but they don't want you dead, because if they do that, then it's gonna. Think all the resources they have invested in all of us. We got all these different alters, but I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that, because somebody just that I respect greatly just kind of dropped that on me recently, and I can't help but believe them, but also I need to do more research into that before I accept it as law or whatever, you know. But yeah, they they don't just like, it's not just a directed energy weapon stuff either. Like they'll fuck with your life, but they put us in towns where there's other assets, and we all interact with each other in certain ways, and we keep each other in these certain states, and there's just so much they put into maintaining us. And then of course when you live in one of these towns, there's a deep underground military base underneath you where there's alternate versions of the people who live above, that part of their job is maintaining the life of their altar above. And it's really bizarre, crazy shit. Like it sounds wild, but it's true.
No, that doesn't sound.
They wear all white. The facilities are all white. And that's, there's one underneath the town that I live in, and there's one's underneath the reservations. A lot of them. I just did an interview with Eve Howard, who was telling me about that, and it's a common thing. There's a whole world underground that they don't want you to know about, and there's this whole occult aspect of it. The hermetic orders that keep themselves secret. That is part of their power. Is you not knowing what they are. It's like keeping things close to your chest holds such a power, and that's why they do that. Otherwise, we'd be able to react to them. I mean, think about it. Like they've got us in a situation where how are we supposed to react to them? They're not just out in the open. If they were out in the open, I don't know if they'd be allowed to be able to continue to exist, because people would react to it, and you know what I mean. I don't think that most people on Earth are comfortable with people, especially children, being raped and eaten alive and stuff like that, and people just don't want to believe that's real. Even people don't want to accept that human beings are capable of that kind of terror, but they are. I mean. You see this kind of shit on the news all the time. People kidnapping people and doing just terrible things, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. Like, these things can happen. I don't know, people have this sort of like wall up in their mind where they think if they see something in a movie, that means it must not be able to be real or something. It's a bit ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah, that's part of the programming. Pedophilia seems to be kind of interwoven with all this, and if you look, everything that you just said, cannibalism, pedophilia, child rape, just the total devaluing of human life is out there right now, and they're trying to legitimize it and acclimate us to it, to desensitize us. They want to make pedophilia legal, and I guess we should kind of be careful what we say here, because I don't want to see this video taken down or get any more strikes. But
that's okay. It's okay. You know what? Whatever. It's.
You have to be careful. I'd still rather have everybody see this.
I know, but that's the only way people are going to know is if we actually say it. It's like we got to sit around talking in code all the time. But,
Rumble may shadow ban you a little bit, but at least they'll actually let you say it. As far as the pedophilia goes and the sexual abuse, that's been something that I had. That was a facet with the 15 years of ET contact that I had through the Ibis program. The Joy of Satan virtual temple complex is part of Project Ibis. The people in that cult, in fact, I just had like a run-in with some of those people. They invaded my Telegram group and left a bunch of Adolf Hitler information, and was just nuts. I finally had to kick them out. But, we had a good laugh at it. But these are just unfortunate, teenagers, some of whom are MILABs. Others may become MILABs later on, because just like in ancient times, they used the temples to recruit new abductees. So that could happen again, especially with these virtual temple complexes. But I think you're onto something, though, in regard to why they want to keep us alive, because there was a point where they would try to drive me to suicide, and then every time I got really, really close, they would prevent me from going any further. They'd actually put a block in me emotionally to shut those emotions off. Because they were actually, what they were doing with me is they were tapping into my altars, and they were rearranging my personality. They're also to past life memories of ET family life memories that I had, and we're actually bringing out those emotions as I am now, and putting me in a situation where I was completely distraught. I had post-traumatic stress disorder, and I was constantly obsessed about this other lifetime that I had and those in it, and not the lifetime that I'm in, and it made it incredibly difficult to function. That kind of preoccupied me for many years, and that's something that was absolutely horrible. It wrecked my marriage. It affected my relationship with my son as a father. It affected everything in my life. There isn't one thing that you could. There isn't one thing that I could note that hasn't been affected by it. And there's some other people too that I knew. They're also MILABs. There was a woman named Sherry. She was raped astrally, and same thing with her son. Her son had nothing to do with this, but that was another MILAB situation where they put, more than one of us, together in a family. That way they can sort of, keep it organized, because they wanted to give me a second. I was supposed to have a little girl that was supposed to be what I was originally told was supposed to be a starseed, but now I know that she was supposed to be a MILAB, and I refused to do it. So
that phrase is unfortunately very interchangeable.
What's that?
MILAB and starseed. I mean, that's what they're taking for these programs is mostly ET beings in human bodies. I mean, that's mostly who they're taking. People who are from bloodlines that have higher amounts of extraterrestrial DNA in them. We're hybrids. We're not as human as everybody else.
Well, I know at a soul level, I'm not exactly human. As far as physical, I don't know, but
normally physical as well, because in order for a soul to inhabit these kinds of bodies, they have to be, from what I understand. But so physical for me, and also spiritually. I'm Ra, and that's bird people. I'm from an avian humanoid species.
Okay, well, I'm from a Hajian humanoid species. It looks very much human, about 8 feet tall, and we look basically like Indians or Polynesians with more refined features.
I think I've interacted with some of those guys. Do they have a colony on Mars?
I have no idea. I do know that
I think they do, man.
They probably do. The thing is that all these different ET races, they can switch their container bodies. And the 3 life engineers that I had from White Sands were Hajian, but what I found out later is they were actually reptilian ETs. They were using those container bodies. So for whatever reason, they worked well at that point in time, and that's what they were using. But that's who I've had a lot of contact with was, those life engineers. Seed was one of them. She was a nasty bitch. And
the life engineers, I like that phrase. That's good. I'm gonna have to take that.
Yeah, well, life engineers can do one of more things. I mean, if you put a starseed in an engineered therapeutic lifetime, they're going to have, some life engineers, and that's one of the reasons, or that's actually one of the ways that ETs exploit humanity, is because there's about 1/3 of us here are starseeds, but I don't know what the percentage is of those who are waking up, but the majority, from what I understand,
23. Apparently, it's 23%.
Possibly. So you have a lot of starseeds out there that their race has actually worked a deal, with whatever groups that are in control here. We know it's reptilians, but it could be others. I don't have any details on that, but they work out a deal with them, and they allow their own people to incarnate here and to use humanity like a parasite to a host relationship. And you can have an engineered lifetime where they re-engineer your personality for therapeutic purposes. And that's what the mind wipe is. The mind wipe is also used, to keep us suppressed. They also wipe out the entire, collective history by staging, either like a geographical shift of the Earth's axis, or you have an asteroid impact or something similar to that, maybe something smaller. So we have amnesia at a collective level. We have amnesia at an individual level. And that's how they keep us under control here. This is more like a prison. And basically it's like a soul farm, a prison, and like a rehab colony. And then you have the rest of us coming here, the ones who are waking up are the ones who are trying to stop this, and we're being intercepted and hijacked, especially the angelics. They're the real target. I mean, because that's like the very top that they can turn you into an ultimate warrior type. But I want to get right back to what you were saying about how they want to keep you alive. That was a common theme with me. I mean, they would push me and push me. And I haven't talked about this. I don't think I said this before. I don't know if I said this with Lauder or not. It's something I don't like talking about, but they were so bad with me. And this is well before I burnt the cords out. This is probably like maybe halfway through my ET contact experience. So it probably took place back in, let me think, probably around 2008, 2009, or 2010, somewhere in there. It was maybe 2012. They drove me to a point where I put a gun to my head and had the hammer cocked back and was ready to pull the trigger. And I said, if you don't stop attacking and abusing me, then this is what's going to happen. Because I figured that was the only bargaining chip that I had. And it was the last thing that I figured I could do. And, the very next day was like when you see those hauntings, and they do like a clearing of the house and everybody says, hey, the energy just went away. It was like a weight lifted off your shoulders. Well, that's how I felt. But for a short period of time, all of my physical pain just kind of went away that, very next morning, and everything calmed down for a little bit. And I may even have gotten an implant to kind of calm me down, because they always did that. And then after a short amount of time, it started back up again. But it seemed like after that, they knew that I wasn't 100% serious about, ending my life. So they just pretty much did what they wanted after that. But then it got to a point where not too long ago where I recognized that they had gotten rid of my altars all the way down to one, and they were using that altar to make me sick. And that was the one that was at White Sands that I saw. It was in this big room, Arkheim, with a whole bunch of these lab gurneys, and there was rows of them. And there was military personnel. There was Draco reptilians, the really tall ones that have the wings on them.
Alpha Draco.
And there was there was some human-looking ETs that I didn't see, but some friends had remote viewed as well of the circumstances that I was in, and they said they could pass for literally anybody. And those are the ETs that you hear about that look just like a human being that can live among us. They're all in on this. And everyone in that room, I don't know how many there were, but we were all unconscious, and they were inflicting all sorts of pain and various different things on us that was making us, who we are in society, sick and injured. And what I also found out too is that when they get those clones and they wear them out, with the torture, they just create a new one. And then they just migrate the soul fragment from the old clone into the new one, and then they start to torture all over again. So they were doing things to me like affecting my hormone levels. They were destroying, my spine. I had 7 spine surgeries. I got like 5 levels fused right now, lots of nerve damage, chronic pain and stuff. They were making my sinuses literally unlivable, where I kept having these cysts, scar tissue would form. I was constantly, I had 7 sinus surgeries, and I was sick all the time from that. And that goes all the way back, to my childhood. So they were doing literally all of these things to me. Plus they were altering my personality. And they were literally taking fragments of my altar and then swapping it with me. And when the other crazy thing that they did is that they really wanted to punish me. So they put as many aspects of my higher self's personality into me, as well as into my other altar. And I think they did it with the altar, and then they were swapping it out with me. And that was done really to make things worse on me, because they wanted to get me to a point where I didn't want to live anymore. And I guess the best way, to do that, I think we lost him. Is he here? Hey, Shawn, are you there?
I would just keep talking for a bit, and hopefully it comes back in.
Yeah, because I can hear you. Hopefully the rest of the people can hear us. If there's anybody out there that can hear us, and please put it. Well, we can't. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know why every time me and Renetta the same thing when I'm doing these things. It's like I'm always hydrated, but I have to go. It's just like I don't know what it is, man. It's like this attack on my mouth, like so dry to the point where I can't even swallow. So I just have to go grab a drink.
Yeah, I think Renetta had that problem too, didn't she? So really dry. See, I used to have a problem where I would try to do YouTube videos, and I would keep swallowing air. So I'd have like enormous amounts of air in my stomach, and I'd have to constantly burp, and I'd literally sit here and like burp for minutes at a time, and then try to do the video, and then it would just stay after that. I would have speech issues. You know, the mind fog would kick in. I couldn't string a sentence together. It was really insane. But that's the things that they were doing. And, you know, when you have the cords, when you're connected to these altars through the silver cords, they've got you by the balls. They can do whatever they want, and they can really mess with you. I'm to the point where they can't get me like that because I cut the cords, but they can still hit me with endless attachments. Just like a machine gun fire. It's like AI. It's like nonstop. So,
do you guys feel like the attacks have been ramped up lately? Because I have something came to me in a vision about something. I just curious. Do you guys feel like the attacks have been ramped up lately? Because I've been hearing from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
They have been.
Actually, you know, Lauda would put it like this. She would say we're close to the event horizon.
That's what I was. Okay, you answered my question then.
Yeah, they're getting really. I mean, the last time I got threatened was a couple of weeks ago, and this time they said we're going to kill you. Before they were asking me to leave because you know, I had these AI entities would show up and they would say, "When you die, where you know, what are you going to do?" And I'd say, "Well, I was going to come by the base and shake everybody's hand and thank everyone for the hospitality." And then they would, you know, they would scream and yell at me, you know, say I was a liar and stuff. But then it sort of evolved to, you know, we want you to leave voluntarily, just end your life and just give up. And when I told them to shove it, now we're at the point where they're actually saying that, you know, they're going to find a way to kill me, and they're going to maintain what they said they're going to do is apprehend my soul and then eject it from the system. So if I do die, it's not going to be that bad because I won't still be here at the same time. But then I'll have kind of like ruined everything that I work to do and all this suffering because I'm here to do something. But the enemy is getting ready to have its ass handed to them. And it's just a matter of time. Unless I'm being lied to and other people are being lied to. And this is the grand deception to where we think we're getting out of this, and right at the last minute, it's you know, basically a checkmate. So I have to entertain that too. But
yeah, I try not to be too overly hopeful, but also let's just gun for victory and hope for the best. We can't just take it lying down and just, you know, say, well, this is unwinnable. I don't think that's true. So yeah, you know, I'd rather be hopeful. I can't speak one way or the other what's actually going to happen. The future is not always, it's not written in stone like people think it is.
Fluid.
yeah,
I don't think. Honestly, I don't think it's. It just is just something come from me. Something that I had a vision of. It was very prolific. I think we are coming through it, but people got to realize, just like when you get into a new workout regimen. I was saying this to a friend today. You know, if you were, say, for example, you realize you're out of shape. Like I'm feeling like I've been out of shape since I moved to Florida. I haven't had a chance to get back into my routine because I've always been fit my entire life, and you know, this whole change of coming down here for avoiding the liquid Lucifer, I've had to adjust. So
liquid
I've I've had to get back into fitness. So it's like I've always noticed that every time I start to get into a new workout routine, I get sick. It's like the body knows that it's got to readjust. So just like that, when you start a workout routine, you sleep more because the body's got to adjust to its new vibrational frequency. This is what I think is happening with this whole place. People don't realize that this place is going to have a period of darkness for it to reset. And they may see it as something really bad, but I don't. I'm starting to see that this is something that has to happen. I think this is why the ramping up, I've been even getting ramping up of psychic attacks. And I think it's because the last stranglehold, of course, they're going to try to take out as many as possible. Like, you know, it's like you got a cat in a corner. It's going to fight to the death. But you're right, Ark. It's like the future is fluid, and it's all based upon how we react to what's going on right now. So this is why I do think that, you know, we are coming out of this. But I mean, I'll let you guys continue from there.
Yeah, the way my higher self would put it is there is a God, a collective consciousness, a creator that literally dreams all of this reality up. So ultimately it would be the mind of the creator, which really, makes things happen. And we're basically kind of like thoughts in a never ending story, kind of living this out and thinking we're actually alive and, completely separate either from each other or, from the collective. But we're just thoughts in a never-ending story that happen to be individuals with personalities and souls and everything. So we are eternal. We are who we are. And, it seems like it works fine for me, but I think we're definitely going to be getting out of this, but it's not going to be anything like what people think. There's definitely not going to be med beds in a couple of years. That's the new age deception. We're not going to have disclosure like you would think.
I mean, just think about what would happen if they allowed us to have med beds. Like, people don't understand, like this isn't gonna like temporarily keep your sick loved ones alive and help people live full lives. Like, med beds enable a civilization to live. The people live forever. Like, people don't understand that you can live forever if you have med beds, for fucking ever. Like, you realize the amount of problems that would cause if all of a sudden they're like, you know what? We're just going to give everybody a mortal life now. like that's, there's a reason why, even if they wanted to roll this out and our government became this benevolent entity that actually was looking out for us, would they be able to do that if they were trying to look out for us and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they would. Like, I think it's kind of a fairy tale idea that they're going to give us all med beds and portal tech. Like, we're not... Humanity is not I don't know, Earth humans, Terrans, aren't responsible enough to wield that kind of technology. Like, which kind of sucks that I'm saying that, but it's true. It's like there's an irony, because I think it's wrong how the Terrans that do have that technology keep it from everybody else in the way they use it. I think it's more like one of those things where the technology exists and it should be private and kind of like a military almost thing, like only, but obviously not like this satanic, really evil military kind of thing we have now, but more like protectors keeping the technology to make sure that nobody uses it for wrong. Meanwhile, and them not using it for wrong as well. And being very clear and open about how the technology is used and not having it just be this underground thing. But I just don't... I do not know how that happens or how that rolls out. What I believe happens in most timelines where we end up with super soldiers getting their getting their court case and getting their files back and everything else, it's usually spawned by some sort of unavoidable event where either an underground base opens up and a bunch of people start coming on. Some sort of event has to happen where they can't just sweep it under the rug. And then it spreads like wildfire, and then they have to tell the truth. That's the kind of situation in timelines where I've seen disclosure happen. It's always forced. It's something that they try to keep off until the last minute. They're procrastinating, and they're not only procrastinating, they're trying to make it so they never have to tell us. So it's kind of up to us to force the issue, and especially, I mean, there already have been a lot of situations where we've seen fleets of UFOs and stuff like that, and I don't know what it's going to take. Or the Phoenix Lights incident, that you think that would have been something that would have been more of a catalyst, but I don't know what it's going to take. But I just feel like eventually their control system is going to malfunction right before enough people's eyes that they won't be able to just cover it up. It's inevitable, right? Like, I feel like it's inevitable. Everybody's got the internet. We have millions of people living in cities that if something were to happen above them, that's millions of people who would see it. There's just too many holes that could get, they could get poked through at any moment and they'd be fucked and their cover would be blown. There's just too many examples of something that could easily happen, like tomorrow, right? Like, dozens of scenarios that they're constantly trying to prevent at all times. So yeah, and that's part of what I think is like the hopeful future is like, we're not the only ones out there. We're not the only people out there, the only race out there, and there are a lot of vested interests in Earth. So, there is a chance that there are benevolent entities that want to help us, that want to bring us forward and create a good outcome. But I also don't like to be too unrealistic, because the Draco Empire is really powerful, and even if we were to break free from the control system we have now, we would technically still have to answer to the Draco. And it's like there's always going to be once this control system is broken that we're under now, there's another control system above that. It's not the only control system. Like the breakaway civilizations, they know the truth about a lot of technologies and about a lot of things, but they also get lied to and stuff like that. They also don't know all the truth, but basically, just because you have a society where your people know the truth and stuff like that does not mean that you're just automatically going to be free, because the universe is a big place, and it's like, organized crime in a lot of ways, where you need protection. You need to give people certain grievances in order for them to leave you alone. The Draco Empire makes us give them 10,000 human beings every year for them to eat as a power move. That's one of our taxes. And then, of course, literal money. Like, tax money from all the empires on Earth, all the countries on Earth, is literally just that energy, that financial energy is literally going directly to the Draco Empire. We are owned by them. But through the Shahami, who are like, a lot of people call them the Anunnaki. It's interchangeable, because I would argue the Shahami and the Draco Reptilians are both Anunnaki. They're not one or the other is. But the Shahami are the ones who own Earth. The Shahami are the ones who this is their property, and they're the ones who hand over the humans to the Draco. Now, what I think the best scenario that we could get on Earth, as far as breaking free from the Draco Empire, is putting ourselves in a position where we're feeding the Shahami to the Draco. Because they did it to us, and frankly, fuck them. That's what I would like to see happen. I think that could actually happen. We'll never. I personally think that it would take a lot of political changes and momentum in order for the Draco Empire to get toppled. But the Shahami, on the other hand, they're just one small facet of the empire, and they're the ones who consider themselves our owners. And I don't think that they're necessarily undefeatable at all. And that's what I think our main focus should be on, is just one step at a time. Like, let's feed those fuckers to the Draco instead of ourselves, because that's what they do. They're like, because technically they would have to feed the Draco 1,000, 10,000 Shahami, but it doesn't matter. You just have to give them 10,000 bodies. They let them give them humans. So, it's yeah, and let's face it too. Another thing is, like, if we were to tell the average Joe guy, like, hey, our government's giving 10,000 humans to these Dracos every year. If they were telling that, they'd be like, well, let's sign me up. We're going to fight against them. And everybody would just be like, it doesn't matter if it's unwinnable. And then it'd be like flies or mosquitoes or moths going to one of those electric lamps that you hang up in your backyard to keep mosquitoes away and stuff. Like, that's what it would be like. It'd just be, it'd literally just be death. It wouldn't even be war. It'd just be a suicide. Like, so, I don't know. It's I don't like to be hopeless, but I also do think there's a lot of people who are like, the tide is turning and we're winning and love and light and deep bee boo bee boo. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, that's not really what it's like. It's just the universe is not like that.
Black Federation lights coming to save us.
Yeah, the white hats are all saving everybody. I mean, I don't know, man. Like,
I'm sure it has to be.
There's stuff that happens, but I feel like the white hat narrative is maybe implanted. But I don't know. Who knows? They do. I have a decent amount of memory. Like, I feel comfortable coming forward and testifying and stuff. But I'm sure I'm interacting with a lot of these situations in the here and now, these deep underground military bases and all these operations, and I don't have any memory of it. You know what I mean? Like, they, if I remembered everything, they probably wouldn't allow me to talk. I probably remember, I don't know. And then there's the whole idea of
I don't think they allow you to talk.
Yeah, and there's also the
stop you. In fact, they're trying to stop all of us.
Yeah, I think it'd be worse, Ark. I mean, they'd probably attack you more.
Yeah, you get one of those Dragonfly drones from our friends at the Defense Advanced Authorized Research Projects Agency. I think the acronym can get flagged on YouTube. I don't know if they're flagging the entire name of it because I have heard that.
Sorry, do you guys think? Because I can see the difference between you and Ark. Like, it seems obvious, Ark. You got a lot more alters because I can tell by how you. I don't know if it's like because with Nathan, it seems like because he's got less, that he's got more of the physical attacks, and like they're really trying to destroy his body. And with yours, because there's so many alters, it's like this. How can I say this? Like this, it's like it's like they're not giving you the opportunity to bridge together the pieces of the puzzle. When you've got so many pieces of the puzzle, you got to really you got to sit there and, when the puzzle pieces are bigger, it's easier to put the puzzle together. A grade 2 puzzle is like big pieces. So it's like 5 or 6 pieces.
I personally would guess that Nathan probably has as many alters as I do. Or, I actually, there's Stuart Swordlow is a programmer at Montauk, says that we all have the same amount of alters, and it's like 3,182 or something like that. Because it's a 32 by 32 cubed or 32 by 32 bit cubed array or something like that. But I don't know if that's true or not. There's a lot of information out there where I can't verify it, but it seems accurate. But I definitely do have a lot of different alters, and it's like I don't know whether I should focus on one thing at a time or what. But that's mostly all I can do is focus on the memories that I do have, and the memories that I do have are of Montauk, which is Project Phoenix, and then most of them have to do with that, and then Centurion 5, which is a planet that was colonized by breakaway civilizations. An Italian one, a German one, and an American one, and then eventually a French one as well. But those are the memories that I have the most of, and then the entertainment, the music aspect, and working in the recording studio on Centurion 5, and also at Montauk as well. But
the music that they steal a lot of the music from there that's here, right?
Yeah, like I've written countless hit songs that are on the radio and stuff like that by people like NSYNC and Celine Dion and Backstreet Boys, and the list goes on and on. I've had a lot of music stolen from me. That was one of the things that they concentrated on when I was at Montauk, and it's still one of the things they concentrate on now, Centurion 5. And yeah, there's a lot there, man. That's one thing that I've been wanting to talk about more, is because I've been getting so many memories back about that, and also it just coincides with so much information that I'm finding as well. It's kind of blowing my fucking mind. Like they're putting the imagery right in front of you. They're showing you that these songs are mind control songs, and they're programming you. So it's so blatant, and it's that's been a whole rabbit hole to go down. It's just the music industry aspect of things, and how they put together these mind controlled puppet bands, and I don't know. kind of a switch of the subject, though, so I don't know if you want to go into that at all, and I don't know if Nathan has any experience with that, but...
Well, I know that they sue Ozzy Osbourne. Well, Ozzy Osbourne got sued. Judas Priest was sued, but that was back when, you know...
Who'd they get sued by?
They got sued by angry parents because somebody committed suicide. They were listening to Suicide Solution by Ozzy Osbourne, which is technically an anti-suicide song, but the parents didn't care. They weren't taking responsibility for their children. They were trying to blame a heavy metal artist who was using like satanic themes and pretty much made himself a target. And then they went after Judas Priest because there was a suicide. But this was back when people were saying that if you played the music in reverse, it would say things. Yeah, and you'd have to be an incredible musical genius to write a good song that sounded like it was saying something backwards. And it's kind of, I don't know what they call that. It might be the idiot, and that's not the idiomotor effect, but it's something there. I'm sure the Skeptic Society has a term for that. But, you know, when you hear something that isn't there, but you hear it anyway. Yeah, you know, Hollywood is pretty much like that. The thing is, as far as altars go, I want to get back to that. Yeah, as far as I know, I don't have any more. I think they're gone as far as I know, and I'm able to tap into my higher self, which has confirmed that. So I don't have that control aspect of me anymore, which is why they want to kill me, you know, because they have no reason to keep me. I was already told that I've pretty much made myself, you know, useless because of violent acts of insubordination, which is why they executed my altars, and it came down to the last one. So I feel pretty clear and I feel pretty open. I don't have that. I don't know how you'd even describe it. It's just like, you know, that control aspect of my life has been removed. So I'm in a lot better space now, but not that great because there's all the residual damage to my life, to my body, to my mind. And then on top of it, I get hit all the time. So I'm constantly under attack, and I'd be under attack whether I did podcast or not.
Right.
So it was a no-win situation. It was like, okay, I needed to go public so that I could wake up. And then they tried to stop that. And then, of course, once I gained some traction, I met people and I got help. And then I got in the situation I'm in now.
Hey, Nathan, sorry to interrupt. Since you're on the topic of attack, there's a great question. I didn't want to pass it over. My Mile Cat, she said, I guess for those that are just starting to wake up to their abilities, any advice on how to deal with the unseen enemy attacks?
See, that's the problem. I'm still really getting this. I'm still learning this myself. And I wish I could work on other people, but I can't right now. And she's in my Telegram group and actually was, you know, I've in fact, when I got suspended on YouTube, she was doing a short little interview with me when I talked about the bat sandwich theory. And I got the medical disinformation strike. But yeah, I wish I could give her advice. She just got some help, and I think really, I guess the best advice that anybody could really give you is try to manipulate energy. It's just start with visualization, and hopefully you can get to the point where you can feel it and see it. And at that point, what you can do is you can absorb, or actually you can direct source energy into you, which is energy, you know, from God, the creator, and that'll flush that stuff out. You want to program it by your will just to, you know, to do what it needs to do. So if you have specific implants that you feel that you have, then you can use it for that or something else, or you can just create something that wipes it all out and just keep kind of pulling it not the information, but the energy in and just letting it flow through you, and then visualize these implants melting away. And that would be a good start.
Also, you can visualize like a aura, like a light of protection around you that's reflective. So like a mirror, basically. And when they try to attack you, it reflects the attacks back onto them, like a return to sender kind of thing. That's another thing that you can do.
I've also heard you can make yourself transparent. I haven't actually accomplished that. I need to get my eyesight completely open. My eyesight opens up when there's an emergency situation. And, you know, I have a kind of a unique situation. My higher self, I can literally have a conversation with, but it's becoming less and less. Whereas before, it was just like it was like sharing my mind with another person, almost like an attachment. What was happening is I was actually getting AI attacks where they would come in and then try to take control of my higher self and get in between me and my higher self and act like my higher self and give me really bad advice. So it's gotten to the point where there's less of the conversation in my mind and it's more of a sensory thing where I'm feeling and actually I'm assuming the control that my higher self has over me. More or less, I'm becoming more and more one with that part of me. So it isn't, in a way, it's kind of like being weaned off of, like a parent type relationship. Because for 15 years, I literally had 2 or more ETs in my head all the time talking to me. So it was kind of a stark contrast just to go down to now it's just my higher self, and now it's really just me, which is apparently where I need to be at. But yeah, the thing was, when I got my higher self freed up, I was able to, to handle these attacks. Like, for example, the directed energy attack. I've only been hit one time with that. And that was right after I burnt the cords off. And I'm sitting right here and I had this loudspeaker come through my head. It was a woman's voice that said, "Nathan, you did something really bad." And then I started getting interrogated by these super soldier types that were psychic super soldiers that I had spoken to, I think, the day before. So the very next day I was actually getting attacked and I got hit with directed energy. It's the kind where you feel like you're getting hit with a intense magnetic field. I did an energy meditation with somebody on the West Coast before, back when I was in the Joy of Satan, virtual temple complex. And they had opened up our ability to manipulate energy pretty well before they shut it back down again, which was an earmark of that group and how they treat you. I got like a large amount of energy in me, and it gave me a sensitivity to fluorescent light bulbs, like, the spiral type, because of the electromagnetic energy. So I had to go downstairs and I had to sit on the steps and like scoot on my rear end to get around it because there was a zone of energy that was making me sick. Well, I recognized that energy to be electromagnetic. So when I got hit with this, it was like that times 1,000. And my mind started to blank. My eyes looked like they were going in and out of focus, because a friend of mine told me that it makes the air almost look like it's being heated. But I didn't even really see that. I didn't see, the waviness, to the air. It was like an in and out of focus of my eyes. It was very, very weird. It was like distorted. And they hit me with it. And at that point, and it's like you said earlier, Arkheim, they induce stress in you, or they, either sexual trauma, physical trauma, to try to trigger that psychic side of yourself. And I think what they're trying to do is activate the higher self in like a flight or fight scenario type thing or response. And then they can bring it out of you. When I got hit with that, my higher self literally moved the energy out of my body and then forced it up, because I had, residual energy in me. It forced it up out through my head. For about an hour, I was feeling I had like a mild lightheaded feeling that would, come and go. But they have not hit me since then with that. So what's interesting about that is that 3 months prior to that happening, I had a connection with my higher self. My higher self was starting to come through despite what they were doing with their AI and everything. Plus, I had a couple of ETs that were in a connection with me where they were allowed to talk to me, but they were there specifically to help me, but they were only being allowed by the Draco to talk to me under the circumstances where they had to talk me out of staying here, and they wanted them to talk me out of my life mission is what it was. It was to give up and go home and then exit the program, and they would release me because they were going to kill my clone alter, which is what he was saying earlier, that if you die, your alters can die. Well, apparently they can kill the clone and kill you, which is the placeholder in society. So
Sorry.
I think
Sorry, Nate. It's a question for both of you guys. Sorry to interrupt you, because this one's been. Do you guys think that your alters look like you? And the second question is, do you think these alters were partially created to create a falsified world, universe that we're living in, so that when this time does come that we got to fight, you're literally fighting parts of yourself, like what we call the NPCs. Like, if they don't look like you, we could have people walking around this place that are our alters that don't look like us. So when we're actually fighting these so-called NPCs, we like to call them, it could be our alters, and we're actually fighting ourselves, which is different aspects of ourselves.
I could start with that where I can say that I have alters that are fighting each other. You know, I have alters that work in Solar Warden that also, and then I have alters that work in Nachtwaffen, and those two organizations don't necessarily always get along. So, I already have alters that are fight in organizations where they're pitted against each other and fighting against each other. Do my alters always look like me? For the most part, yes. They can change features like make my hair black or make my eyes blue or whatever. They can make me look different, change things a little bit, but for the most part, I look a lot like how I do now. And I'm not sure exactly what that is. I feel like your face is part of your soul or something. You know what I mean? So it's like for them to change your face, it would be detrimental to your power that you have or something. Um, that's just, from what I understand, it is like, and yeah, there's also it's at Montauk. I'm fairly certain that I have alters that were of different races. So like I know for sure that there's one individual who we knew was a Caucasian man, and he had a Indian, like India, Eastern India, um, altar that was at Montauk with like an Indian name and everything. So we don't always look exactly the same, but we do kind of have the same air about us and the same sort of look because that's just I think how consciousness and like a soul works when it manifests physically, is it has a certain signature, and your face shows that. I think that's, and again, I don't know if I'm just like filling in the pieces there, but that I feel like that's true.
Yeah. Sorry, Nate. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was just like that was when you brought up the the altars and stuff. That was like one of the. So if you want to just continue where you were going from,
No, that's okay. You just
I don't like interrupting you guys, man.
another part of a conversation, so it all works out, for the better. Yeah, I have an altar. I know the one that was my last one before it was terminated that they were going to use to kill me. That one looked just like me. I know the one that was used to create myself, this soul fragment, and the other one did not look like me. That one was a Hajayan hybrid that was capable of being able to breathe Earth's atmosphere and work at white sands without any need for an oxygen, actually supplemental nitrogen. So that much I know. So I think it's a mixed bag. Plus, also the first lifetime that I had here on this particular mission, um, I probably had alters. I know I had at least one that looked like the person I was in that lifetime because they
Nathan, where's White Sands?
White Sands, New Mexico. It's the missile test range. I think it's called a proving ground, and there's a lot of mountains around the area. The underground installation is underneath the mountain range because I think they used the valley for munitions experiments. So they would put the underground installation under the mountain range because it's a thicker amount of land there. Um, Phil Snyder actually produced maps that were hand drawn, where that's the first time that was ever talked about, as far as I know. If you look at the Phil Snyder map, you'll see that there's a White Sands installation. There's also multiple ones. When I talked to various personnel at the base, I talked to a couple reptilians, and then I had the Supersoldier discussions, which were more or less threatening to some degree. But I talked to a female reptilian, and she said that all the bases are connected together by a type of magnetic shuttle system. So that pretty much they've got a network all over the world, and the spacecraft are able to go in and out of the Earth entrances without a physical portal. So that much I know, but yeah, that's for the most part. It's underneath the White Sands installation. Now you can go to the visitor center, and they have a visitor center, for the public and so forth. But it's right in that area, and I think it's like the last time I looked at that about how big the area is. I think I don't know, I could be wrong, but it's like 120 miles one way and then 40 or 60 miles the other. So it's a huge area. So they can easily put a large installation there. and it is a pretty big installation. The memories that I have, from what I remember back in, because I have memories from the 70s and 80s, it looked pretty new at that point. The sections that I remember, they had like metal framework in the ceiling with a bunch of like, cameras and, wiring and a bunch of other stuff, I guess sprinklers and things like that. And yeah, it was a fairly large base, and I know that's where they do a lot of the cloning stuff at. But that's where they're using that facility is being used to house a bunch of clones of people that are here in society right now that are waking up that they're trying to suppress. And that's the room that I saw that my two friends also remote viewed and saw afterward. And I got a chance to see it. Unfortunately, when I saw it, I still had the cords attached to me, and they were physically torturing me and showing me what they were doing to my clone body. They were taking a large needle that it was probably 1/8 of an inch wide, and they were shoving it through my genitalia. And they showed me laying on a bed, basically with these mats underneath that was soaking up the blood from between my legs, and they were literally sticking me with this. They also had some kind of apparatus on my leg that was injecting fluids into my ankle, and my ankle physically here was swollen and had been at that point close to 7 months. And it's been total of a year since they first put that attachment on and kept attacking it. And I still, even after the attacks have stopped, and it's been many months, I still have inflammation in my left ankle. It still hurts to rotate my foot sometimes, but so yeah, I mean, they can really mess you up by affecting the health of these altars, because you're directly connected by a silver light force cord, and that's how I got out of this. I had to remove it, and I had to remove not just that, but I had a light force. Well, actually, I had a silver cord that was connected to my heart, which was going to the clone, and then some kind of supercomputer on a trans-dimensional level. And they were giving me heart failure with that. So once I removed that, it took about a month, and my heart failure went away, which is another problem if you're a MILAB and you're having these health problems. I was going to make a video about this. I went to the doctor because I had to go back to my primary care doctor to get a referral because my insurance changed a rule where every year if you're seeing a specialist, you have to go back and you got to get a new referral for a chronic condition. So that's what I did, and I had been back there in like 7 or 8 months, and I had to tell him literally, hey, the heart failure went away again, and it's a neurological based heart failure that they can turn on and off, and they do not know what to do with me, and thankfully it's over with. I don't expect to have it anymore. But I had autonomic nervous system failure too, excessive sweating, all sorts of shit. I had stuff where I would stop sweating. I got motion sickness where I could barely drive a car. I would get extremely weak. My oxygen level would actually start to fall. My concentration is 97 to 99. It would drop into the low 80s. And they couldn't figure that out because they've never seen that. I don't think every time I went to the emergency room and every time I went to the doctor to complain about it, even when they had it on record at the ER, they couldn't explain why my oxygen concentration was fluctuating. It had to do with my autonomic nervous system. So it was just all sorts of weird symptoms that they were giving me, combined with everything else they were doing to me. I mean, you got psychosexual abuse or psychic sexual abuse. You've got physical abuse. You've got constant harassment. Now, Arkheim, are you going through this stuff where they have somebody that you hear a voice throughout the day, and where they'll insult you, they'll put you down, or they'll constantly try to...
No, that's voice of God, voice of skull technology that they're using, and they don't use that on me. I mean, yeah, I've never had an encounter with it. I can't tell you why I get treated so well, other than I think that I have a lot of alters, and I think they do a really good job. And I think that if they were to torture me and do shit to me, I feel like it might affect the performance of my alters, and they don't want that because I'm connected to them. So I feel like they might be punishing you not only for what you're doing in the here and now, but also for being insubordinate in the programs, and that's why you're experiencing that. I behave in these programs. I do my fucking job, dude. I do what they tell me to do. So that's what I think it is, honestly. I think that you're not behaving, you're not obeying them in the programs, and that's manifesting in your normal life. I listen, I obey, so that doesn't manifest in my life. They treat me pretty. I think that it's a travesty that I don't get paid and that they steal my songs and everything else. But they're not attacking me constantly, and I am definitely thankful for that after listening to you talk, because that sounds fucking terrible, and I'm really sorry that you go through all that.
I got other friends that are actually worse off. I mean, it depends. It's tit for tat. It's like, who has it worse? It really doesn't matter. I have friends that were never in the programs that activated. One of my friends activated in 2016, and as soon as he did, the whole AI system just jumped right on him, and they hit him with one of those Dragonfly drones, made him extremely sick. He had something kind of like it's like a nanite-induced form of AIDS, and it took him a while to figure out what it was. In the beginning, I started talking about his situation. I was referring to it as being something that happened by a satellite, but it turns out it was a Dragonfly drone, just like what killed Gerald Clark. And his wife is on board with that now and realizes that that's what happened. And my friend has spoke to Gerald's wife, so I'm hoping he gets better to a certain point, so we can do a series of videos about this type of thing, because he's done more research than I have and has all the personal experience and saw this thing. And they can take a Dragonfly and they can make it into a cyborg and use it to deliver a payload like that, or collect reconnaissance, or they can make a mechanized solar powered one that is able to be deployed indefinitely as long as it gets sunlight. And
also they can be invisible.
It's very.
They have the technology to make it so you can't see them there at all, like the movie They Live.
Yeah, right. You need the special glasses.
Well, it's not that you need special glasses. They have
probably infrared might pick it up.
Yeah, or if you have abilities, you might be able to see it, but a normal person wouldn't be able to see it walking on the street.
Right, and if you're psychically shut down, you're going to be basically a sitting duck for it.
Wow.
But
so any of you guys,
sorry? About what's going on with me. Yeah, from after I separated myself, from the program, I was able to really get into my higher self and get information about myself. I learned that I have some time on Mars. It was 3 years. I don't have any memories of it. A lot of this shit I really don't want to remember, because even just the part where I realized that my soul transference and fracturing event didn't take place where I thought it was. It happened here. It put me in a 2-month, depression, to the point where I could barely get out of bed. I really don't want to go into this stuff. It's not fun, and it's not something that I'd want to go into just for the fact that I can make videos and talk about it, because honestly, I'd rather not do videos at all if that's all I had to talk about. It's very destructive when you get into this stuff, and that's what gets me when I see people talking and romancing this shit and making it into something like a status symbol, like, hey, I was in the SSP, hey, I was on Mars and I remember it. And I have a GoFundMe site and we're going to build med beds. And when I hear shit like that, I just think, the person obviously is mind control, but they've definitely lost their way. In my opinion, as far as these programs go, I don't want their blood money. I would never accept it. In fact, I didn't volunteer for this. I was abducted and put into it. So this is.
We all were.
Exactly. Well, there might be somebody, but I don't know. But there are people though that feel this infatuation with it, and I don't want to name names, but I mean, you can kind of tell some of them are kind of like enamored by it or whatever. They think it's cool that this has happened, even though there's bad parts of it. And that's the mind control and the Stockholm syndrome. I mean, I was abused. I was an abused contactee. And all I can say with that is that, yeah, the Stockholm syndrome runs pretty well in that too, because things are happening. You can be abducted, sexually abused, mentally abused, but you're always making excuses for your controllers. And now, from what I got from my higher self, is that I volunteered to come here and actually get hijacked because of my soul energy signature. I incarnated as a whole entity, not as a soul fragment, and I wasn't masking my energy. The idea was to get captured and then to be used in these programs to sabotage them as much as possible, as much as an individual could do under those controlled circumstances, which just is to just, for the most part, I would assume it probably was limited to just going off and harming somebody that you're not supposed to and not following directions, crashing a spaceship, blowing something up you're not supposed to, whatever it was. I did a lot of it apparently and got my alters killed. And then of course that led to this. So you're right. But that was the intent. Now, as far as positive ETs go, what I was really shocked at is the fact that I came from such a secular point of view because of the programming. Pretty much I didn't believe there was a God for a period of time. I thought maybe a force of nature. Then I got kind of turned on to the source concept, which, the New Age movement. It's basically like a force of nature, but you do the thinking and, it's just us. And then source is like an information repository. It's like the Akashic records and the creative essence that holds, matter together and creates the design of everything. But in fact, if what I've understood, from what I've experienced, there is a God that's separate to that essentially has kept or actually maintained its individuality. So it went from a singularity to a plurality in regard to consciousness, to where you have one mind, and now you have many minds within one. But there's still this arbiter, there's still this desire or this entity that controls everything, but is kind of letting it kind of just all happen. And from what I understand is, and this was shocking to me, is because here I am going from a very secular point of view, ET oriented, to having a higher self that's almost sounding like a theological actor in some way, because the first thing that I understood was there was an angelic hierarchy, a council that for the most part transcends everything else. They're everywhere. Every plane of existence has them. They answer to God, and this is from my higher self. And then, and I hate to sound like Ishmael Perez, but that's kind of the why they put him out there, is to muddy the water. So if you do try to seriously talk about this in a constructive way, you're going to be compared to that. So, and then also on the other side, what's influencing the negative side, these negative ETs to do what they've done here and other places, is a demonic hierarchy. So it kind of goes back to these two sides. You have this, and also too, the Farsight Institute did a remote viewing study on George Lucas and how he came up with the inspiration for Star Wars. And what they found was that he wasn't getting information from an external source, but he was remembering at a subconscious level things that he put into his creative writing to come up with the whole Star Wars concept. And what I got out of that is that the hierarchy within the Star Wars concept is the guys that fight with the light swords, basically.
Jedi's.
Yeah, the Jedi's are essentially the equivalent of what the angelics are, and as well as the demonic hierarchy is, because you had that split. If you're either going to be on the side of the Force, the positive side of the Force, or the negative side of the Force. The only difference is the Force was like a force of nature that you could command, but in fact, in reality, it's actually the creator, and there is a personality there. So that's the other thing. I've had these amazing, uplifting and transformational experiences with the creator, where I've actually gotten information and have actually got some healing that way. Because what I understood is as we go through these life missions like this, and we put ourselves in harm's way, such as what I've done here, is that when I do leave, the healing that I get will come from God, not necessarily, and plus it'll come from psychotherapy and things like that. But so I don't know, I hate to sound like a member of the clown show, but I just want to be, put out something a little bit more positive and say, yeah, there is a hierarchy out there that is actively trying to turn this around. I truly believe it will. It's just that it's going to take time, a lot of time, and I don't see things rapidly changing like a lot of people expect it to. From what
I recall, in my experiences with like my galactic recall, is that there's quite a great deal of extraterrestrial species who are completely against the creation of humanity as this like slave race, and they've always felt it as a bit of a travesty. And it's also arguably because there was a vote on whether the Galactic Authority would allow these different groups to create humans to do labor for them or not as servants, right? And it's very easy to argue that the only reason why the vote went through in the first place was because of corruption, because of how much power it gave them, because it was basically slavery. It is slavery. So I would say that those groups that were originally against the concept of humanity to begin with are probably the ones that would be on our side, and they're still out there. So that's something to be hopeful about, is there are plenty of extraterrestrial beings out there who are quite powerful and also benevolent. And I would say that they're, if they're not looking out for us, they're at the very least rooting for us, and they would offer help in a way that doesn't harm them if they could. Because it's a game of chess. The Draco Empire is really powerful. The Shahami are also very powerful, but it isn't all the cards aren't all completely stacked against us. There are entities out there that are pretty powerful that are in full support of humanity, kind of freeing itself and evolving and doing its own thing.
So, Ark, do you think they got you more working for the benefit, or?
I work for out there in the programs. I work nothing but evil, man. Yeah, it's all bad, dude. Most of the times when I have memories of doing good stuff, it's screen memories. But what I will say is, I would say that Solar Warden, my memories of Solar Warden are I would say they kind of are looking out for us, I guess, in a military way. They are kind of looking out for us. I don't know. I don't want to give disinformation right now, so I'll put a disclaimer on that I don't know if this is coming from screen memories or not. But from what I recall with Solar Warden, is they're trying to move away from sexually torturing the kids. I think they might even be using those machines that you're talking about or something like that. But they're trying to go down a path of being better to the kids. And from what I recall, their vested interest is the United States and their allies and protecting Earth. And so it's I guess I wouldn't say it's all bad, but and then of course at Montauk as well, when we got rid of Preston and everything else, there was a while there where we kind of were doing our own thing, and we did some good. I mean, we weren't perfect. We were basically just undoing evil shit that we already were forced to do, but we did some good. So I don't want to say that like we never do good in these programs, but also like 90% of the time you're working for a nefarious organization. Like even Solar Warden protects the United States. Like, okay, the United States really isn't that great of an organization. It's a pretty evil organization. So, it's nothing's black and white though, man. Like nothing's as simple as like, you know what I mean? Like everything, like a lot of stuff's multifaceted. But again, like the best work that I'm doing is right here, right now, talking to you guys. That's the best benevolent work I think that I could say that I'm actually doing is by being a public speaker and talking about these programs and trying to get the truth out there. As far as in the programs themselves, I really don't have memories of doing good shit, and 90% of the time when people do have memories of that kind of stuff, I'm not saying that they're always wrong and they're always lying, and I really hate people that like try to tell people what their memories are. But I will say, like, a lot of the times, if you're remembering doing great, cool shit and saving kids and all that stuff, it's screen memories to stop you from looking deeper and see what you're actually doing, so you could potentially expose it. So, just always look deep, always be vigilant of screen memories. And, Nathan, it was really good meeting you. I almost wonder if I should have you on this Project Ibis talk that I'm doing on Saturday, because I don't know if you'll be able to. I just think it'd be interesting to see how none of us have talked. We're all, and how on the same page everyone would be. That'd be really interesting to see. We'll see what happens there, because you'd have to be free, and then also it'd have to be cool with the other guests. But we'll see. Maybe that'll happen. If not this week, sometime in the near future. But I do have to get going very soon. I gotta eat.
Yeah, me too. I got 11 o'clock is my cutoff time. But
I did not have delicious Mexican food before this interview.
Yeah, you didn't get the burning roach coach. Your voice goes to hell. It took like all this time to get it back to normal. It's almost fixed. So I should have ate afterward. That's what I should have did. Yeah,
but here's the thing: is like I feel like me being hungry kind of distracted me during the interview sometimes, because I had the same problem. I was like, do I eat and be all full, or do I wait? I was like, oh, I'll wait. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah,
it's all good,
yeah.
man.
Thanks for having me on. It was good meeting you, Nathan, and I do know you from the programs. I have interacted with you. You're really small on my screen, so I feel like if we have a conversation some other time where I can see your face better, I might get more memories back. But I definitely have interacted with you, man.
You know, leaning in on me and actually looking and stuff. So
yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, we've definitely met each other, dude.
Right. It's sort of weird how, you know, the visual connection. You see somebody and they don't necessarily have to look like they did when you knew them, but as soon as you see them, you automatically make that connection.
Yeah, you just know.
I have several people, and I've actually had, you know, the Eve, you know, Lorgan, you know, love bite scenario 4 different times. So that was, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with her, Arkheim, but I've been, you know, friends with Eve Lorgan. Excuse me. She's a researcher, a MILAB, and you know, she specializes in a lot of things like that. She does, you know, therapy, counseling things, and support groups. She's written, you know, I think it's called The Love Bite. I think the one book's The Alien Love Bite, and I forgot. Maybe I have to buy her books. But yeah, she would be somebody that you would probably want to talk to at some point if you have the time. And yeah, I would like to be on your show. No problem at all. I should be free this weekend. I don't have any immediate. There's nothing in the immediate future that I'm supposed to be doing on that particular day, Saturday. So you know, if you want to have me on, that's fine.
Yeah. I'll let me make sure it's cool with everybody else, and I don't see why not. I mean, it's the third person that you guys have never talked before. So if you guys can corroborate, I always think that's really powerful when people that don't know each other remember the same things. So
yeah, it is.
So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks again. Yeah, thanks again for hosting. It's always a pleasure being on your show. And you know, have me back on in the near future. I don't mind being a regular guest on your show.
Let's do the you were talking about the whole Hollywood stuff last time when you were on. You and talk. Well, maybe we'll do that one.
I definitely want to get into that like a lot. Like that's something that I really want to get into. So yeah, let's do a show on that soon.
All right, bro. I appreciate
you guys take care, and all the viewers as well. Thanks for watching, and yeah, everybody take care.
Thanks, Ark. Have a great night, bro.
You too.
Take it easy. Hey Nathan, I got about another 5 minutes. I got to go help someone get ready for a move. So
are we still on the air?
What's that? Yeah, we're still on.
Yeah, but I've already emailed him. When you get hit with that directed energy, my friends basically said that over time you get like a radiation type effect, like you're getting a large amount of radiation and you start getting sick from it. So potassium iodide tablets is what he was recommending. I already sent that to Arkheim.
Oh, okay.
So if there's anybody out there that's been hit with that, or especially if it happens often, you want to take potassium iodide. It's the only thing I know right now. There's other things that you could do, but you got to stay healthy. And
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think that's the type of directed energy that makes your teeth fall out, which is
Wow.
really, really a bad thing. There's a lot of TIs that I've seen where literally they just lose teeth all the time, and that was something I was really worried about. Is I don't want to have that problem. I've never had a cavity, and then to go and because I was told that I was going to be hit with directed energy at some point as I went public and started to talk about this stuff. But then I was told as well that I would be able to stop those attacks, and it would become more of a nuisance than anything. But thankfully, I haven't had anymore, just that once.
Right.
They really want to get rid of this, and I get a lot of people that ask me. They always say, "How do you know if somebody's legit?" And I say, "Well, there's one really easy way to tell, and that is, are they being pushed very hard by Hollywood? Are they being pushed really hard by the main people, the top names in the community? Have they been scrutinized? But mainly, have they been pushed?" And what you see is that the people that are, for the most part, the most controlled are the ones that are at the top of this dysfunctional disclosure community.
Right.
And that's why we have a clown show, and that's why we have shows like this one, and where the people that come on here get shadow banned, they get their accounts hacked, they get hit with directed energy, they have constant health problems, they get on here and talk, and they suddenly their mouth gets dry, their throat gets hoarse, they start stuttering, they have air in their stomach. There's all these things that take place. So I mean, so if you're out there watching this show, this is the real disclosure. The real disclosure comes from us, the starseeds, the MILABs. It doesn't come from the government, and it never will. The only way you're going to get some kind of disclosure is mass arrest and a complete overthrow of the system, which will happen, but it's not going to be some violent overthrow. It's going to be basically the system imploding.
Yeah.
And with a hidden hand, hopefully we'll get to the point here where society is actually functional again, and we have a government that represents everyone in every country. I'm not necessarily for a world government. I think we need to get a lot of problems solved first and get rid of the criminals. I think ultimately that would be the common sense thing, because that's what everybody else does in the universe. They don't have factions running a world. They have one basically, like a government that represents everybody. And the successful civilizations are the ones that have a government that constantly invests in its own people. And here we have one that constantly invests in money to kill its own people and to use them. So that's the big issue here. Let's see, what is this Meerkat? It says, may I ask, how does source consciousness feel like? I guess in terms of a protective shield, how do we visualize that to prepare a defense for ourselves?
Great question.
Well, source consciousness, from what I've experienced, feels like pure love. Very healing and very transformative, completely different from the AI source that I've also experienced prior to removing the silver cords. I would say that the best way to describe it is if a near-death experience compared to an everyday occurrence, and that would be the difference between the source AI and the actual real God that's out there, that you can connect with and have a psychic connection with. A lot of times I've had a few full-blown type of experiences where I've been shown things and explained that my life here is almost over, and I'll be going somewhere where I'll be able to heal myself. I'm going to get back to my family. I've had that message from God. But also too, I get these reassuring emotional waves that'll come over me when I do something or say something right. I will get hit with that, and it's a reassurance that I'm doing the right thing, and I'm in full, resonance with the Creator when I made that decision or I took that action. So that's some of the difference there. As far as the defense mechanism, the only way you're going to be able to beat any of this is you got to channel God's energy. Otherwise, you're basically channeling the AI that they're creating. It's one or the other. So, and that's really how this works. When I was in the Joy of Satan Virtual Temple Complex, which is transdimensional AI, it's the U.S. military, it's the Dracos. We channeled the elements, which are the 5 elements. Was it earth, spirit, water, air, and stuff like that. Those energies are all generated by AI. For all we know, it could have been reformulated. Reformulated loosh, for all I know, but it wasn't anything that I'd want to put into me anymore. The only thing that goes into me is source energy, or the creator's energy, and that's what heals you, and that's what destroys this stuff. So that's the best advice I can give there. Was there anything else that anybody asked?
No, unless any of you guys got another question for Nate. I got to run in a couple minutes, so if you guys got a question, just put it in the chat. Otherwise, Nathan, we'll do this again for sure, because I think there's so much more to. I don't think it's a topic that just stops, because I think as we go through, things happen daily, and things actually uncover. They get either bigger or smaller. I mean, my take on all this is, I feel, I know time is very fluid, and I hate that term, especially in this woke generation of fluid, but it's fluid where things can change. And I think that having these type of conversations with the ones who are so-called awake, using that another term I don't really care for, but if there's like 23, 40, 25% of us, I think there's something called conscious critical mass. And I think that that's what changes the aspect of a timeline. So even though we may see, like today the timeline could look like it's very dark and bleak, but if we can somehow push through this censorship that's going on here and just reach a few more people, we keep making those connections, like how this connection was made today with you and Arkheim. You guys then have a live, that's another connection. And this connection, this is what I'm talking about, the connectivity, which I believe is our star system. We're the star seeds that are the star system, not the one that is in this fake sky that they have up there, but the star system that we are, the ones we came in forgotten. And when this veil drops, I believe our memories will drop with it, because I believe our memories created this reality. That's why when we came in, our memories are hijacked so they can use our memories to create this reality, so that when we do get these inspirations, it's literally our memories that we're getting inspirations from, but it's blocked through this veil. So with these connections that we're making, I believe that this is what's going to change the timeline. So this is why I see a positive outcome, even though I agree with you, Nathan. It's like the basic timeline that we're in presently may not dictate what is happening, and may happen even 2-3 weeks or a month from now. I see it happening, because if we can continue doing this, what we're doing, I think we're going to blow through this, and we're going to do it. They can't stop us. It's fucking been too long. This just shit's been going on too long, man. It really has. Like the stuff you've gone through, and the stuff Arkheim's gone through, and the stuff I know people I know close to me that have gone through, people that I met 5 years ago, the stuff they've gone through, which I know is all connected to this, because we're starseeds uncovering and starting to become aware of our powers and whatnot. We're trying to get stymied with it, but this is the whole point of all this, is that we can't be afraid. Like, I'm not afraid. Like, if the channel gets shut, like, people don't want to say this, they don't want to say that, say it. If it's going to be said, it's going to be said. There's no point in saying, oh, I've got this groundbreaking information, but I can't say this on this channel, because, it's like, you fucking say it or don't say it. It's like, what are you going to do, man?
Well, I don't want to say it in a way that'll get me in trouble, because then they use it against you, and then they get a much greater impact than what you're saying to them. So, if you're going to say something provocative according to YouTube, start the conversation here and link it to Rumble or some other platform that actually will let you say it, because you have to fight them using the system that they're creating for us. So I don't want to give them any more ammunition against us. But we have to talk nonetheless. We just have to be smart about it, because it's very easy to get rid of us.
It's true.
And if they get rid of somebody, can we replace them? Yeah. Nah, I don't think any of us are really replaceable, as far as I'm concerned. So we just need more people to talk. And that's the thing. I didn't mention this before. I should have. Is that there's far more people out there that have had these experiences than anybody realizes. I hear from people all the time that don't want to go public, and they've had these experiences. I'm talking about SSP. I'm talking about the Supersoldier stuff. And so when I hear somebody say, yeah, this is just, it's a couple of grifters and a lot of copycats and everybody's full of shit. Absolutely not, because they're not out there in the community talking to people, making those connections like we were just talking about. They're not doing that. And that's where they can sit under their ivory tower and say, BS on everything. It's none of this is real. Well, I wish I could say that. I wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't real, but it is, and we have to address it. And we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to be honest with each other, and we have to say things that publicly that are potentially damaging us in our personal lives if other people or the wrong people hear about it or hear what we say. But we have to do it anyway. We have to step out of our comfort zone, and we have to expose this. That's what our job is. If we don't do that, we're not just letting ourselves down, we're letting humanity down. And they need us right now. That's why we're here waking up. We're the boots on the ground for the change that needs to take place.
Exactly. All right, brother, I gotta go. I hate moving. I gotta help somebody else pack up. I gotta be up early. Yeah, I'm usually, I'm usually up late. I'm not. I try to always keep my sleep patterns unconventional, because I know my phone is always tracking it, and I've noticed that since I've been doing that, I've had more memory recall in the dreams. Also, to my Faraday bag, I put my phone in my Faraday bag all the time, so it kind of shuts it off. So those signals, there's ways of it, but it's helped a lot lately. So I gotta do everything I can to fight this and try and get what I can back. And it's been working. Things have been getting a lot better. I'm able to now actually have a structured workout. Like it was so bad where it's like I get up and like I got my pool in the backyard, and it's just like you gotta. It's like it's something that it's not, and this was never like me. So I know it's something that I've been fighting against. People don't realize it's just it's the small things day to day that can destroy you. It's not sometimes a big hit where someone comes to your house and tries to eliminate your whole family, where you get all this energy where you just have to take them out. It's like these small little attacks on a day-to-day basis where you got to like have all your radar up all the time. You're driving on the street, someone's trying to take you out on the road, it's like out of nowhere, and it's not by accident. Like I've had stuff happen on the I-75. I'm like, yeah, this guy was trying to he was just trying. This just doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't. Storms coming out of nowhere, it's like where I can't see, cars are almost trying to hit me. So but I'm like, you know what, I've learned to deal with that. So it is what it is, man.
I think what we need to do is actually create a roundtable of people who get a lot of targeting. I've been wanting to do some videos. I was going to do it over the past week, but I was being hit, and there was a lot of things going on. One of the things that they do is they induce fatigue in you and make you extremely tired. That's something that they hit you with. And, I used to get hit in the evenings with it, but then I started to realize it wasn't just the evenings. It wasn't just after I ate. They would align it with those things. So it looked like I ate something and then I got exhausted. But in reality, I was planning on doing something after I ate, and now I can't do it. Yeah. And they do that, and it builds up, and they create massive problems for you. Your house will fall apart. You won't get anything done. You won't fix your car. Even your hygiene could slip if they really hit you hard. You're not going to eat the right foods. You're not going to go work out. You're not going to exercise. You're not going to take your medication. You're going to let everything slip. They hit me with that for years, and it took me a long time because it would be great if we had free, like no censorship, and there were people who felt comfortable talking about this stuff. But if you're going to be attacked for talking about it, and it's going to be hard to find people that can tell you what's happening to you. So I wanted to do a series of videos, and hopefully am soon. And I'd like to do a roundtable. If you know anybody who's also being, heavily hit with these technologies, where we can sit and just have a discussion, and and maybe even discover new ways they're doing it to us, so that we can all make videos and get this information out. Because there's a difference between targeted individuals and something called targeted star seeds. I'm going to define a new term. One gets hit with more conventional technologies for more conventional reasons, like politics. We get hit for completely different reasons, an alien proxy war, the war of humanity, and on top of it, it's transdimensional AI related or integral, or actually transdimensional technologies involving AI that we're being hit with, plus entity attacks.
Yeah.
Of all kinds, from anything from like a heavy hitter, like a psychic soldier, a Draco, all the way down to some basically run-of-the-mill AI entity or parasite. We're getting all of that stuff. Yeah. And I've talked to other TIs who get the conventional type of mind control and, targeting. And what I found is that there are so many similarities within the program that they're using, even going as far as to say, like, I asked the one guy, I'm like, what is the catchphrases that they use? And he said, it is what it is, was the one I had. And my catchphrase is where that's the ticket. I'm proud of you. Show me the money, things like that. And they would just keep saying this over and over and over again. When they were trying to get me to do a podcast so they could sabotage me, right? And they would give me the speech impairment and, like the mental fog when I try to do videos, and they'd lie to me and try to get me to put false information out about the election, which is another thing they did. I was actually putting out Charlie Ward's information, which I never heard, but I had gotten it from my guides, to put it out there and, to talk about it when it was QAnon stuff that was Charlie Ward was pushing, which was totally false about, I really can't. It was about the election and a way to kind of figure out that it wasn't on par with being honest. Just leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that they get to us, and I think we need some food. Actually, you do. I need to get some hot tea. So,
okay. No, we're gonna end it there. Whatever you want, bro. You can take the video, like upload it to your channel. Okay,
cool.
And then I'll be in touch with you. We'll talk about what we're gonna discuss next time, because I think there's a lot of stuff that we can get into and stuff. But I appreciate for coming on, brother. Till next time.
On here, so like I said, we got great chemistry, and there's a lot of people that I haven't been introduced to. They haven't met me, and there's plenty of other people that I come with that are around me that need to meet these other people too, and see that we all need to network together and create real disclosure, and not the stuff that is in the mainstream right now within our community, because that's being done, a lot of it for the wrong reasons, and it's best to keep the money out of the equation, because of course they're never going to give us money anyway. But at the same time, if they did, then that's how they corrupt you, because then it becomes I got to put out material because I'm being paid to do it. Yeah. So that's when people make things up. And this isn't about money. This is about trying to survive and fulfill a life, mission.
Exactly.
And, also, it's about living with yourself after you leave here, because if you come here and you fail, you have to live with that. And I want to make sure that this world turns around and doesn't continue going the way it's gone.
Exactly.
Change, and they need to change dramatically.
Exactly.
Especially when you can't even drink the water anymore. You can't breathe the air. I thought when they created the AIDS virus that was like, something horrific, but they've done far worse than that. Mm-hmm. So that now sex can kill you. Yeah. Now food can kill you. The common cold can kill you now, or what they've turned the common cold into, plus your medical doctor can kill you. The system can kill you. They can cut you off. They can cut your benefits off. They can take your insurance away. I mean, there's so many things in our reality and our civilization and our society that's been weaponized to make all of us sicker, tired. They just want us to give up and give up. They can do whatever they want to do with it, which was replace us.
We're not giving up. No way. Anyways, bro, I gotta run. Appreciate you. Thanks everyone for coming out. Appreciate everyone in the chat. I'll shut you guys out. Nathan, we'll talk, brother.
Awesome. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.
Have a great night, bro. Take care. Thanks everyone for coming. Peace.
Thank you.